They had almost reached the lane when Alex cur Susie had followed her master, approached the silence in which attends dangerous dogs, and seeing indications of what she took to be war, she appended herself swiftly but firmly to the calf of Peter's left leg. The melee was short but spirited. Alec had no wish to have his dog complicate his already serious misfortunes, and went manfully to the defence of his captor. He procured a large stone. By beating this with both hands down upon the resounding skull of the animal, he induced her to quit her grip. Breathing heavily, Peter dropped into the long grass at the roadside. He said nothing. "Mist Washington," said Alec, at last in a quavering voice, "I reckon I gwine wait ya see what you gwine do to me." Whereupon Peter passed into a spasmodic state in which he rolled to and fro and shook. "Mist Washington, I hope this your dog ain't gone your fifties." Peter sat up suddenly. "No, she ain't," he answered, "but she gin me a big scare and fair assistance with her cobblestone. Miss Whilom, I tell you what gwine do. I tell you what I gwine do." He waited an impressive amount. "I gwine leash you." Old Alec trembled like a little bush in the wind. "Mist Washington," quoth Peter deliberately, "I gwine leash you." The old man was filled with a desire to negotiate this statement at once, but he felt the necessity of carrying off the event without an appearance of haste. "Yes, sir, think, Miss Washington, I reckon ramble home presently." He waited an interval, and then dubiously said, "Good evening, Miss Washington." "Good evening, Deacon." "Don't come falling round feeling melons. I took struth. Evening, Deacon." Alec took off his hat and made 3 profound bows. "Thanks, sir, thanks, sir, thanks, sir." Peter underwent another severe spasm, but the old man walked off toward his home with a humble and contrite heart. Number 4. The next morning Alec proceeded from his shanty under the complete but customary illusion that he was going to work. He trudged manfully along until he reached the vicinity of C. Bryant's place. Then by stages he relapsed into a slink. He was passing the garden patch under full steam, when at some distance ahead of him he saw C. Bryant leaning casually on a garden fence. "Good morning, Alec." "Good morning, Miss Bryant," answered Alec with a new deference. He was marching on when he was halted by a wood. "Alec!" He stopped. "Yes, sir?" "I found a knife this morning in the road," drawled C, "and I thought maybe it was yourn." Improved in mind by this divergence from the direct line of attack, Alex stepped up easily to look at the knife. "Nah, sir," he said, scanning it as it lay in C's palm, while the cold, steel blue eyes of the white man looked down into his stomach. "'Tain't no knife of mine." But he knew the knife. He knew it as if it had been his mother. And at the same moment a spark flashed through his head and made wise his understanding. He knew everything. "'Tain't much of a knife, Miss Bryant," he said deprecatingly. "'Tain't much of a knife, I know that," cried C in sudden heat, "but I found it this morning in a watermelon patch here." "Watermelon patch?" yelled Alec, not astounded. "Yes, in my watermelon patch," sneered C, "and I think you know something about it too." "Me?" cried Alec. "Me?" "Yes, you," said C with icy ferocity. "Yes, you!" He had become convinced that Alec was not in any way guilty, but he was certain the old man knew the owner of the knife, and so he pressed him at first on criminal lines. "Alec, you might as well own up now. You've been meddling with my watermelons." "Me?" cried Alec again. "Yeah, my knife. I don't care for your... yeah." Bryant changed his ways. "Look here, Alec," he said confidently, "I know you and you know me, and there ain't no use in any more skirmishes. I know that you know whose knife that is. Now whose is it?" This challenge was so formidable in character that Alec temporarily quailed when Gans. "Nah, Miss Bryant, your friend mine." "I know I'm a friend of yours, but," said Bryant inexorably, "who owns this knife?" Alec gathered unto himself some remnants of dignity and spoke with reproach. "Miss Bryant, this knife ain't mine." "No," said Bryant, "it ain't, but you know who it belongs to, and I want you to tell me quick." "Well, Miss Bryant," answered Alec, scratching his wool, "I won't say I do know who belongs to this knife, and I won't say I don't." Bryant again laughed his Yankee laugh, but this time there was little humour in it. It was dangerous. Alec, seeing that he had gotten himself into hot water by the fine diplomacy of his last sentence, immediately began to flounder and totally submerge himself. "No, Mr. Bryant," he repeated. "I won't says I do know who belongs to this knife, and I won't says I don't." And he began to parrot his fatal sentence again and again. It seemed wound about his tongue. He could not rid himself of it. Its very power to make trouble for him seemed to originate the mysterious Afric reason for its repetition. "Is he a very close friend of yours?" said Bryant softly. Friend?" stuttered Alec. He appeared to weigh this question with much care. "Well, seems like he were friend. Then again, it seems like he wasn't," said Bryant, asked. "Yes, sir. Yes, sir," cried Alec. "Sometimes seems like he wasn't. Then again—" He stopped for profound meditation. The patience of the white man seemed inexhaustible. At length his low and oily voice broke the stillness. "Oh, well, of course, if he's a friend of yourn, Alec, you know I wouldn't want to make no trouble for a friend of yourn." "Yes, sir," cried the negro at once. "He's a friend mine, he is that." "Well, then, it seems as if about the only thing to do is to tell me his name so as I can send him his knife, and that's all there is to it." Alec took off his hat, and in perplexity ran his hand over his wool. He studied the ground, but several times he raised his eyes to take a sly peep at the imperturbably visage of the white man. Yes, Mr. Bryant, I reckon that's about all what can be done. I gwine tell you who belongs to this ya knife." "Of course," said the smooth Bryant. "It ain't a very nice thing to have to do, but—" "Nah, sir," cried Alec brightly. "I'm gwine tell you, Miss Bryant. I'm gwine tell you about that knife, Miss Bryant." He asked solemnly, "Does you know who belongs to that knife?" "No, Well, I gwine tell you. I'm gwine tell you who, Mr. Bryant." The old man drew himself to a stately pose and held forth his arm. "I'm gwine tell you, Mr. Bryant. This ya knife belongs to Sam Jackson." Bryant was startled into indignation. "Who in the hell is Sam Jackson?" he growled. "He's a nigger," said Alec impressively. "He works in a lumber yard up in your Oswego." Okay. March 1900, Harper's Magazine, Volume 100, pp. 591, 598.